The word is yet. Not a big word, not a technical word. A tiny hinge that swings between two ideas, two moments, two versions of you. You use it dozens of times a day without a second thought. I want to learn, yet I never start. I know this is bad for me, yet I keep doing it. And in that small syllable, something strange is happening. The word is not just describing a gap between intention and action. That gap is being built, maintained, and reinforced every single time you say it. Here's the claim that feels like a contradiction. The word yet doesn't just describe your mental state, it constructs it. The language you use to narrate your own mind doesn't merely report what's happening inside. It participates, it edits, it decides which parts of your experience get to exist and which parts get silently deleted before you ever notice them. And the most unsettling part? You never see the edit happening. You only ever see the finished sentence. Think about the last time you caught yourself in front of a mirror, rehearsing a conversation that hadn't happened yet. Your lips moved. Your voice-shaped words meant for someone who wasn't there. That voice, the one that talks to you all day, has a vocabulary, a rhythm, a set of favorite phrases it reaches for without asking. Most people assume that inner voice is just them, thinking out loud. But what if that voice is running a script? What if the words it chooses are not neutral descriptions, but tiny architects quietly rebuilding through the rooms of your mind? This is not about positive thinking. It's not about manifesting or magic or the power of intention dressed up in spiritual language. It's something far more mechanical and far more interesting. It's about how a single word can act like a switch in a circuit, flipping your brain from one mode of operation to another. And the word yet might be the most powerful, overlooked switch you own. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that small word apart, piece by piece, until you can see the circuitry underneath. We're going to trace what happens in your nervous system when you say it, when you hear it, when you refuse to say it. And by the end, you'll understand why this tiny word has the power to change not just what you think, but how you think. The question is whether you'll be able to hear it the same way again. Let's start with something mundane. You're sitting at a desk, staring at a task you've been avoiding for 3 days. It's not complicated. It's not even unpleasant. But every time you think about starting, a small voice offers the same sentence. I can't do this yet. And something in you relaxes. The pressure releases. You're off the hook. Just for now. Just until later. The word yet has given you permission to stop. Here's what nobody talks about. That permission feels good. It feels like relief. And because it feels good, your brain learns to reach for it again. The word becomes a shortcut, a well-worn path in the undergrowth of your mind. Every time you use it to postpone, the path gets a little wider, a little more automatic. You're not just describing your limitations. You're training the circuitry that produces them. Now flip the sentence. I can't do this yet. Becomes, I can't do this. Drop the word and the sentence turns cold. The door doesn't just close, it locks. There's no future tense, no open window, no implied motion. You're not someone who is learning. You're someone who has failed. Full stop. That single word was the difference between a temporary state and a permanent identity. And you never noticed the switch being flipped. That switch flips quietly. One word changed a temporary state into a permanent identity, and you felt it before you saw it. Stay with this channel if you want to keep tracing the words that edit your choices before they feel like choices. In the comments, write Somos alente que revela o oculto if you've ever noticed the difference between I can't and I can't yet. Only after the door had already locked. But wait, here's the strange part. The word yet doesn't change the facts of your situation. It doesn't add a single skill, a single hour of practice, a single new connection in your brain. The only thing it changes is your relationship to the future. And that relationship, that tiny shift from not now to not yet, is enough to change what you do next. The word is not describing reality. It's constructing a version of it you're willing to inhabit. This is the first layer of the mechanism. Yet primes the brain for change by leaving the door open. But that's just the surface. That's the version you've heard before, the self-help version, the motivational poster version. The deeper layer is stranger, and it has nothing to do with getting things done. It has to do with who you are while you're not doing them. Let's go deeper. When you say, I can't do this yet, you're not just making a statement about your abilities. You're making a statement about yourself, about the kind of person you are, the trajectory you're on, the story you're telling about your own life. And that story, repeated often enough, becomes a kind of architecture. It shapes which memories you retrieve, which possibilities you can even perceive, which futures feel real to you. Here's the part most people miss. The word yet doesn't just apply to skills. You can attach it to almost anything. I don't understand this yet. I'm not the kind of person who does that yet. I haven't figured out my life yet. Each of those sentences positions you in time, not as a finished product, but as a work in progress. And that positioning changes what your brain does next. When you believe you are a work in progress, your attention behaves differently. You look for feedback instead of judgment. You tolerate discomfort because you interpret it as growth rather than failure. You try things you wouldn't try if you believed you were already complete. The word yet is not just a linguistic habit. It's a filter that determines which information gets through and which gets discarded. And here's where it gets genuinely strange. The brain doesn't have a direct line to reality. It has a model, a constantly updated simulation built from sensory input, memory, and expectation. And language is one of the primary tools your brain uses to build that model. The words you use to describe yourself are not idle commentary. They are construction materials. When you say yet, you're laying down a plank in the bridge to a future self. When you drop it, you're taking that plank away. So the mundane assumption that words are just labels for things that already exist starts to crack. Because yet doesn't label anything that exists. It labels something that might exist. It's a word that points into the future. And by pointing there, it pulls you toward it. Not magically, not through mystical force, through the simple, mechanical fact that your brain acts on what it can conceive of. A future that has been named is a future your brain knows how to reach. Now, we arrive at the disruption. The first layer showed you that yet keeps a door open. The second layer showed you that it changes your identity over time. But here's the layer that should genuinely unsettle you. The word yet does not just change what you think about yourself. It changes what you perceive in the present moment. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine you're learning to play an instrument. You're terrible at it. Your fingers fumble, the notes come out wrong, your timing is off. If you think, I can't play this instrument, your brain classifies the experience as failure, a data point confirming what you already knew. You stop listening. You stop adjusting. You stop noticing the small improvements that are actually happening because your model tells you they aren't happening. Now think, I can't play this instrument yet. Same fumbling fingers, same wrong notes. But now your brain interprets the experience differently. It's not a verdict, it's a data point in an ongoing process. You notice the one chord that sounded slightly better than the one before. You register the fraction of a second where your fingers knew where to go. The word yet has changed what you see. Not because the world changed, but because your filter changed. The wrong notes didn't change. Your filter did. That is the exact mechanism we keep peeling open in the episodes ahead, so stay with this channel as the next layer goes deeper. In the comments, write somos alente que revela o oculto if you felt that shift the first time you added the word yet to a skill you were still failing at. This is the mechanical truth hiding under the motivational surface. Yet is not a magic spell. It's a perceptual tool. It recalibrates your attention so that certain features of reality become visible to you and others fade into the background. The word doesn't rewrite the world. It rewrites the filter through which the world enters your mind. And that filter is not passive. It's not a static lens that just sits there. It's a dynamic, energy-hungry process that actively selects, amplifies, and deletes information from the overwhelming flood of sensory input. You don't see reality. You see your brain's edited version of it, edited according to the models and expectations you've built. And one of the tools you use to build those models is language. So when you say yet, you are not describing a fact. You are performing an act of editing. You are telling your brain, include the future in this model. And your brain, obliging, begins to look for the path to that future. It starts noticing resources, opportunities, small signs of progress that were already there but had been filtered out. The word didn't create anything new. It just changed the editing rules. Here's what changes everything. If a single small word like yet can shift your perception in this way, then every word you use to describe your experience is doing similar work. The inner voice that narrates your day is not a passive reporter. It is a relentless editor, constantly deciding what your experience means, which details matter, which possibilities exist. And you have been listening to that voice your whole life, assuming it was telling you the truth. Now watch what happens when you start to examine that voice. You are in a conversation with someone you care about. They say something that lands wrong. A flicker of irritation passes through you, and your inner voice immediately offers a verdict. They don't respect you. That's it. The case is closed. The verdict becomes the reality you operate from, even though the evidence is thin, even though a dozen other interpretations are available. But what if the voice offered a different sentence? What if it said, they don't respect you yet? And in that small addition, the possibility that they might, that you could earn it, that this is a moment in time rather than a permanent truth about you and them. The word doesn't erase the pain, it doesn't make the slight imaginary, but it reopens a door that the verdict had slammed shut. This is the uncomfortable part. The word yet is not always helpful. Sometimes a door needs to stay shut. Sometimes I don't accept this yet is a way of avoiding a decision that needs to be made, a reality that needs to be faced. The tool can be used for evasion as easily as for growth. You can hide inside yet forever, always almost starting, always almost changing, always one small word away from action. And that's the paradox you need to sit with. Yet is a circuit breaker that can either keep the power flowing or keep the power from ever being switched on. It all depends on which direction you're facing when you use it. Are you using it to open a future or to escape the present? Let's push further into the machinery. The question nobody asks about yet is this: why does it work at all? What's happening in the brain when a word changes your perception? The answer, stripped of jargon, is that the brain is a prediction machine. It doesn't wait for information to arrive. It constantly generates expectations about what's coming next and then compares those expectations to what actually happens. Mismatches get attention, matches get ignored. The word yet influences your predictions. When you say, "I can't do this yet," your brain generates a prediction about the future. Eventually, you will be able to do this. That prediction shapes what you notice, what you remember, what you try. It's not that the word has power. It's that the brain treats predictions as if they were already true and then works to make them true. Now here's the flip side, and it's the one that should send a chill down your spine. The same machinery works when the words are negative. "I'll never get over this. I'm always late. Nothing ever works out for me." These sentences are also generating predictions. Predictions of failure, of stagnation, of permanent limitation. And your brain, faithful to its programming, begins to look for evidence that these predictions are true. It filters the world to confirm the sentence. The word didn't describe the reality, the word created it. This is the deep mechanism that the motivational version of yet never tells you about. Language is not a mirror held up to experience. It's a mold that shapes experience. Every sentence you say to yourself is a set of instructions you're giving your brain about what to expect, what to look for, what to remember. And you've been speaking this language to yourself since you were old enough to think. The question is, what have you been instructing your brain to create? Take a moment to feel the weight of that. Every time you tell yourself a story about who you are, you're not just describing yourself, you're building yourself. The word yet is just one tool in a vast linguistic workshop. The same workshop that builds your sense of identity, your expectations, your hopes, your fears. And the terrifying thing is that the workshop never closes. It's running right now, constantly, while you're reading this sentence. So let's return to the question that started all of this. Does the word yet really rewire how you think? The honest answer is yes and no. It's not that the word itself contains some special power. It's that the word is a technique for activating a much larger mechanism, the brain's ability to edit its own predictions. And that mechanism is running all the time anyway. The word just gives you a handle on it. That handle is exactly where the real mechanism begins to show itself. Stay with this channel. The next chapter cracks open the architecture behind that handle, the prediction loop you cannot switch off. In the comments, write "Somos alente que revela o oculto" if you notice the workshop still running in your own head after the sentence ended. Here's what you need to understand. Your brain is always editing your perception, always building a model of reality, always generating predictions about what comes next. This is not something you can turn off. It's not a bug to be fixed. It's the fundamental architecture of consciousness. You will never experience reality directly. You will only ever experience your brain's edited, filtered, predicted version of it. That's not a flaw. That's what you are. But within that architecture, there's a small window of control. You can influence the editing, not perfectly, not completely, but meaningfully. And one of the ways you do that is through language. The words you choose to describe your experience become the instructions your brain uses to build your reality. Yet is one such instruction, and understanding how it works gives you a glimpse into the control room of your own mind. Now, the unsettling part. If language can be used to edit your perception, then someone else's language can edit it too. The words you hear from other people, the verdicts, the labels, the stories are also doing construction work inside your head. When someone tells you who you are, they are not just making a statement. They are writing code that your brain will run, building expectations you will then fulfill. This is how reputation works. This is how stereotype works. This is how love and cruelty work. Through the simple, mechanical power of language to shape predictions. This is where we arrive at the heart of it. The word yet is not just a word. It's a demonstration that language and perception are not separate things. They are the same thing, moving in two directions. Your perception is built from the predictions your brain makes. Your predictions are built in part from the language you use and the language you hear. And so the words in your life are not passive. They are active forces, constantly reshaping the territory they describe. You can test this right now. Pick a small thing you're struggling with, something you've been telling yourself you can't do. Say the sentence out loud. "I can't do this." Feel the weight of it. Notice how the door closes, how the future contracts, how the room feels slightly smaller. Now say the other sentence, "I can't do this yet." Feel the difference. The door is still closed, but it's not locked. There's a window now, a hint of light, a path leading somewhere else. The facts of your situation haven't changed. Your skills haven't improved. The task hasn't gotten easier. But something has shifted in the machinery of your mind. A prediction has been modified. A future has been included in the model. And that modification, repeated over time, is what changes what you do, what you see, what you become. The word yet is a key, not because it opens any door, but because it reminds you that doors exist. And that's a thought that stays with you after the video ends. Not that yet is a magic word that will solve your problems, but that language itself is a tool for editing your own mind. And you have been using it your whole life, mostly by accident, without ever understanding what you were doing. Now you understand. The question is what you'll do with that understanding. What words will you use tomorrow? What stories will you tell yourself about who you are and what you can become? The machinery is running, the editing continues, and you are the one holding the pen.